It's Friday. It's 7 p.m. It's Talk Radio Europe. I'm Dom Aldworth, and this is the Friday Night Sports Bar.
And the game is over now, obviously, mate. Oh, County Champions and the Division Edmonton. What a victory. Oh, my God, that'll be a big night in the Glen. I think I feel like getting sick.
Lo scambia ancora con Alberto, ultimi scenari, rigore, Mirko, tira, go!
Oh, no! Oh, my gosh, no! Come on, no! Oh, gosh! God bless those kids. I'm sick. I want to throw up.
Welcome to the Friday Night Sports Bar, live on Talk Radio Europe with me, Dom Aldworth. Coming up over the next hour, the best of Germany versus the best of Spain as the semi-final draw for the Champions League is made. The 77th Masters is underway. We're going to be checking in on the second round scores. Rosberg and Massa go quickest on day one in China. It's round 3 of the Formula One World Championship. And former England international, European Cup winner, Aston Villa legend, Gordon Cowans joins us on the line at approximately 1:30. Stay tuned for that one. Richard Tilsley and Stuart Joseph, gentlemen, I can feel a war coming, Stu, in the first part of the show. You're looking a little bit wound up.
Very.
How are you, Rich? Good. Well, welcome to the Friday Night Sports Bar. Stu, I'm afraid that sweater of yours that appears to be pink at the moment is going to be glowing red very shortly.
No,
but just
it's cerise, I think.
Cerise.
You told me before the show.
It is. It is a fashion
cerise.
colour.
Okay.
Fashion
Very
colour.
nice. Did Jackie pick it out for you, did she?
No, it's a very favourable colour for me.
Okay, but it is actually. It certainly does. But it'll certainly bring out the red
colour
in
of your veins, doesn't it?
your
nose.
blood pressure.
Yes, this week you're absolutely right. It's been a horrible week.
Well, just quick check-in with the US Masters, if we can, guys. Second day's plays are now underway. Some rainy conditions in the early morning. It looks like it's cleared up in the afternoon. Tiger Woods shortly about a tee-off, so they're going to get the best of the conditions in the afternoon. Quickly touch in what happened yesterday. Sergio Garcia, probably one of the better players around, never to have won a Masters, led the field at 6 under par alongside Mark Leishman in his first Masters with a 66 yesterday. Just 2 shots behind them, a couple of former champions there, Trevor Immelman, and the perennial, goodness me, I've completely forgotten his name, Freddie Couples, of course, won it in 1992, just off the pace there. Ernie Els was doing particularly well, having a shocker today, and 14-year-old Tiong Lang Guan playing in his first Masters at the age of 14, quite a stunning achievement that, shot a 1 over par 73, and he's doing particularly well today. I mean, in difficult conditions in the morning. He's currently out on the course, I think through 11 at 3 over par, but I can tell you now, Rory McIlroy is sitting there as well at 3 over. Just to bring you at the top of the leaderboard, Leishman has yet to tee off at 6 under. Sergio Garcia through 9 holes is 2 over for the day. He sits at 4 over in second place. Dustin Johnson through 8 is at 4 under par, 1 over for the day. David Lynn at 4 under, he's evens for the day through 3. Ricky Fowler yet to tee off at 4 under. Gonzalo Fernandez Castano at 3 under through 14, 1 over for the day's play. Freddie Couples hanging in there at 3 under par. Matt Kuchar, Tim Clark, Jim Furyk and Zach Johnson all on 3 under par. 2008 winner Trevor Immelman through 13 is at 2 under par. And Tiger Woods yet to tee off. He's at 2 under. But as mentioned, the best of the conditions for the likes of him, Justin Rose, Jason Day, and Zach Johnson as well. They will be greeted with the better conditions in the afternoon. So expect some low scoring. Rich, you said that perhaps the cut might be around about 2 over par.
Well, that's what they're predicting, but I have to say it'd be I'd so much like Sergio Garcia to win. I met him at the Volvo Masters about 12, 13 years ago when it was in Jerez, and he's such a nice bloke, honestly, and if victories could go to nice guys, then you couldn't look any further than Sergio. Absolutely,
and Sergio was down here, of course, for the Volvo World Match Play last year. I went down, had a couple of interviews with the guys, and Sergio was on the putting green, and he came off and had a chat with me. Looking particularly stressed that day, but he's been playing an awful lot better golf in the last 12 months. He's back now into, I think, number 16 in the Golf World Rankings. He's won an event every year in the last 5 years. On the PGA Tour or the European Tour as well. So certainly in much better form in the last couple of years to what we've seen, but yet to win a major.
Well, I mean, he's always struggled on the greens, Dom, and and he's gone to the claw grip this weekend, which, he's felt a bit more comfortable with, so I've read, of late. And hopefully he can put those, those 2 bogeys behind him and build on yesterday's result. And because, we'd just love to see a European winner.
Absolutely, and what a marvellous major as well there.
But I have to say, by the way, I don't know if you read Lee Westwood's comment.
I haven't, no.
It was an absolute classic. He said, because Colin Montgomery said at 39, Lee Westwood's too old to win his first major. And Lee Westwood was asked about this, and he said, well, the big difference, he said, between Colin at 39 and myself at 39 is about 9 stone in weight. He said, so as far as I'm concerned, that's the difference.
No, love lost there. But he's got a fair point. Lee Westwood has looked after himself in recent years. Yeah. Obviously, that is the one thing that's missing off him. And Luke Donald as well, off their CV, is a major win. And yet they've both been to the top of the world rankings before.
Absolutely. And it just goes to show, because, Lee was somebody who likes to have a good time, when he first burst upon the scene. And but he's sort of become a lot more disciplined in his approach to the game, and you can see that in his physique. And it has paid off. And if only he could get his short games to the same sort of quality as his longer game, then I think a major would be not too far away from him. I really do.
Well, let's see, and we'll bring you up to date with the scores as they happen. But let's talk about Champions League. Plenty of controversy in Dortmund. Well, not so much for me, actually, but for Stuart Joseph and many Malaga fans, bearing in mind that I am providing an objective view onto what I saw, as much as I wanted Malaga to go through. Lots of debate raging on about that goal that should have been disallowed. Clearly offside. Heartbreak for Malaga. Dortmund through to the last 4 of the Champions League. What do you make of all of that, Stu?
I don't know why everyone is so quiet about what happened. Everyone seems relaxed around me, and yet I'm still furious on Tuesday night because it's an absolute disgrace. In a major competition to be... there's an article in one of the Spanish sports daily that I had... it's changed into English so I could understand it, and it said a disgraceful linesman incapable of seeing from under his nose sent Hannah 2 metres away offside, ending the dream for an entire city in the cruelest way possible. I don't think words really sum up what happened because I could not believe what I saw.
But let me ask you, did that same reporter, Spanish reporter from whichever newspaper, did he actually refer to that as the same linesman that also made an error of judgment in Malaga's second goal?
But you're winding me up.
No, I'm not winding you up. I'm just telling you how it is.
I said to you before, as far as I'm concerned, this is my opinion, the goal that was supposedly offside, and let's say it was offside, was very hard to see in full play. Even when you played it back, you had to look to see that it was offside. You can understand the referee make an error. You do make errors in games. No one's perfect. But to have 3 players or 4 players offside, and the linesman was right in line with play, I'm sorry, there is no excuse. No excuse, not in a major match. And I said before, with respect to Steve, to have a Scottish referee that referees in front of small crowds and a minor league refereeing a game like that, and with linesmen of the same colour, you should have the top referees and linesmen in charge of these major games.
What do you make of those comments, Rich?
Well, it's heartbreaking, Stu. We all want the Cinderella story for the local club, but unfortunately, at the end of the day, you have to be a man about these things.
Oh, that's not an answer, is it? Being a man about it. It's a case of
Elisu was offside.
I'm passionate about football, and this was a disgrace.
Okay. But why should Dortmund's goal have been disallowed and not Malaga's second goal?
For what I just said.
But he was offside, and they had 3 players offside.
But you can understand the referee not seeing it in play. Everything's moving fast. I take it he never saw it. A linesman, and forget the referee, the linesman cannot miss something like that. Unless he's got bad eyes, there's something wrong with him.
Stuart, if you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster, and treat those 2 imposters just the same, in short, you will be a man, my son. Okay.
That's very good, Richard. I like
Rudyard Kipling. And that's why. One of the reasons that football really irritates me. Sometimes you just have to man up and accept your team has lost. And I don't know any other sport apart from football where people whinge and whinge and whinge. Okay, and
correct. You never see this going on in rugby.
Okay, you just got to man up.
Boys, I don't accept it. I do not accept
some days you don't get the rub of the green.
I don't accept your summing up. I'm sorry.
952 78 4000. Do you disagree with what we're saying here in the studio? Do you agree with Stuart? Was Elisu offside? Obviously you were heartbroken as well as much as we were. And do you agree with Richard's comments as well?
Okay, we move on.
Absolutely.
Dominic. We stop whinging.
Well, we have moved on. There's nothing no one's going to do about it. If that had happened to an English club, to Manchester City, United, Chelsea, Arsenal, there'd be murders in the British
Well,
paper.
it did happen. It did happen. All the United fans, were up in arms about the Nani sending off.
I don't want to go back to all these other bits. I'm talking about
so it
the game on Tuesday
happens.
night.
You've got to be a man about
Gentlemen, let me interrupt you there for a second. We've got a caller on the line. Good evening. You're live on Talk Radio Europe.
Good afternoon. I wasn't going to talk about this, but you dragged me in. First of all, I don't know why you're always picking on Stuart. I don't know if it's because he's the shortest. and I don't know if Stuart had me in mind when he mentioned Steve.
I know, we just discussed it, and then Steve was a bit disgusted with me fetching up the linesman.
I didn't see
Steve,
the
radio manager, station manager.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't see the whole game, so I can't really make a fair comment, but I did see the goals after the game the next day, and I didn't see the disallow. I don't know about the Malaga situation, whether or not that was offside, but one of my concerns is that you're always picking on Stu.
No, I just disagree with his opinion. With his opinion today. We haven't got to the Spurs yet, actually,
Steve,
so you'll hear a little bit more.
We know him personally and socially, and trust me, he deserves it.
Steve, did you see the offside, Steve?
I'd like to ask about though is the thing is that bothers me is that bearing in mind there's so much money involved in football nowadays. There's so much, and finally the authorities have decided to come in with this scheme in the UK for the ball crossing the line or situations like this. I'm just a bit surprised that not more has been said about that last game.
Me as well. I'll tell you why, Steve, because they've got Bayern and they've got Dortmund in the semi-final, the first and second in Germany. They've got Barcelona and Madrid, first and second in Spain. It's a lot nicer and looks a lot prettier than having little Malaga in there instead of Dortmund.
Rubbish.
And that's what, honestly, I've never talked this way in my life before, but I really feel it because something went very wrong on Tuesday night.
Yeah, what went wrong is Malaga lost their defensive shape. That's what went wrong.
Hang on, if you're playing... whether they played a line of offside, I've no idea. I wasn't in the line. All I know is they were so offside.
Malaga lost their defensive shape, and they also lost belief, okay? And to be honest, the moment... I knew it was all over the moment Paul Breen-Turner said, with 3 minutes to go, you can stuff your Frankfurters or whatever it is, Malaga through to the semi-final. I thought, oh my God, beware those jealous gods.
Richard,
and of course,
I must tell you something, boys. When I was watching the game on TV, when he took the free kick and I saw the offside on TV, I turned away for a minute because I thought, oh, thank God, free kick, ball up the pitch.
Yeah, but the argument was they weren't interfering with play. I mean, but...
Oh, one last question.
Anyway, hang on, guys. Let's give Steve his question.
One last question, please. Bearing in mind this is a Malaga region, does this mean that Richard is against Malaga?
Oh, of course not.
No, Richard...
I just think that when your team loses, you man up, Steve. You don't whinge the whole time. You know, you've got to... You know, and the amount of whinging I've heard about what's happened to Malaga, yeah, it's unfortunate. Listen, I'd have loved to have seen a Cinderella story for Malaga, okay? But it didn't happen.
So
man up and just say...
apply to Wolves, then?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll leave it like that. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, cheers, Steve.
Hang on, guys, unfortunate is not the word. You can't say unfortunate when something like this happens. It's not unfortunate.
But Stu, think about it. Okay, you take away Malaga's second goal because it was offside. You take away the last goal that they scored with 10 or 20 seconds left. The scoreline is 2-1. Borussia Dortmund still advance due to aggregates. You take away the 2 goals that should have been disallowed. Malaga still lose. So where is the problem?
The problem is quite simple. I've repeat it again. The one that was supposedly offside, a referee could make a mistake. It happened so quickly, I couldn't even see it to the slow motion. The other one was actually in your face. 4 men.
But the law doesn't state that in your face or marginal. The law says offside is offside.
Well, if the linesman's got bad eyesight, he should be at Specsavers getting a new set or something.
Well, let's agree to disagree on this one, gentlemen, and let's move on.
There's no point going on. But, I mean, I think we should applaud a fantastic performance from Malaga throughout this Champions League.
Absolutely.
And I just want to say one thing.
And what's the saddest thing is that, unfortunately, I think that a lot of the quality of the team will probably be off to other teams at the end of the season, and
I think you're right.
And I don't think it'll be quite some years before we see Malaga challenging in quite the same way.
I just want to say Demichelis in the centre of defence all season has been fantastic. He was phenomenal the other day, phenomenal. But he's 32, Toulahan's 29, Joaquim is 30. 31. Isco's the only youngster at 20 in the team, so you're quite right, Richard. If they go backwards from tomorrow, God forbid, I hope they don't. I hope they get it.
And will they hold on to Pellegrini? I don't think so. I think
he was very taken aback by the Malaga supporter that turned up when they came back. There was a couple of thousand people, I think, turned up, which I thought was brilliant, because I think the passion in the city has been fantastic.
Just keep an eye on the time, guys, because we've got to link up with England if we can. The other Champions League games that took place on that particular night, Real Madrid were beaten in Turkey, in Istanbul, by Galatasaray. I don't know if you saw that one, guys. I had the TRE commentary on, and I had this game on the telly. Superb goal by Didier Drogba in the second half. But Real Madrid advanced there. And, of course, Juventus, and complete thrashing at the hands of Bayern Munich over the two legs, going out 4-0. And if it wasn't for Messi coming on in the second half against PSG, Barcelona might very well have not been in the draw this afternoon.
Well, you're looking at those three games. I thought if Galatasaray scored in the first half, they could have been beaten Real Madrid. They only got the first goal in the 57th minute, and there wasn't a lot of time to go, but Galatasaray was superb. Juventus and Bayern Munich, there's only 40,000 in the stadium. I mean,
it only takes 40,000.
It doesn't hold more than 40,000?
No, Stadio dell'Alpi.
Then I stand looking an idiot. I apologise. When I saw the crowd, I thought, how can only 40,000 go to a semi-final? Thanks, Richard. Now I'm embarrassed. Now what? Am I the same colour as my sweater?
Now that sweater does you justice.
I take that back. Bayern were terrific. And I think Bayern are going to go on and win. As Richard's enjoyed himself, I think Bayern's going to go on and win the trophy, personally. Going to the Barcelona-Paris game, what a shame for Paris, to go one up and not to be able to hang on. But the goal was superb. Even Messi with a bad leg, not fully recovered, comes on, changes the game.
Completely,
Incredible.
Completely. And the Champions League draw was made today, wasn't it, Stu? And
it was.
It's best of Germany versus the best of Spain. I mean, look at all sorts of scenarios we could have. An El Clasico at Wembley for the final. We could have two German clubs taking on each other.
That would be a Der Clasico.
I'll tell you what's happened. Mr. Platini has split the teams up to get his semi-final that he wanted, and he's got it. Bayern and Barcelona and Dortmund and Real Madrid.
Gentlemen, we've got another caller on the line. We're going to bring you in. Good evening. You're live on Talk Radio Europe. Good evening, you're live on Talk Radio Europe. No, okay, well that was a Madrid number by the looks of it, so if they're listening up to in a Spanish bar up there... sorry,
I think they're going to be two absolutely fantastic semi-finals.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, you've got to look at those four sides that are through. Are they the best four teams in Europe on form and what we've seen over the Champions League?
Definitely.
I think it's very difficult to argue against that, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah, the German and the Spanish league, I think, are the best leagues.
Yeah, I mean, and for... very attack-minded teams. I think they're going to be absolutely classic encounters.
Fabulous.
Really, especially the Bayern Barcelona game. Especially when you think that Guardiola's going, to Bayern next season, and will
he be whispering a few of his ideas on how to stop his old team?
Well, it'd be interesting to see where his actual loyalties lie at this stage.
Yeah, it would very well be. It would be very interesting.
One thing I think obviously that Barcelona will. Give plenty of opportunity to rest Messi until then, because it just showed what an integral component he is to that team. Without him, they looked absolutely bereft of goals, didn't they? I mean, as soon as he came on, they were a different proposition.
The league's all finished. It's silly. They might as well have at least a couple of weeks break. And who do you think I honestly think Bayern's going to win this. Who do you think out of those four teams?
Real Madrid.
Real Madrid. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I just think that Mourinho is so good when it comes to these sort of tight semi-final encounters, and he's brilliant at analysing the tactical weaknesses in other teams. And he's got the two games against Borussia earlier in the season to look back on, and you'd have to say that really Real Madrid was second best in both those games.
But you've got to remember Real's form at that time in the league. They didn't start particularly well, did they? I mean, they really have hit their straps after that, haven't they?
Because I think they drew in the Bernabeu, and then they lost in the Westphalian, Real Madrid, didn't they?
Yeah, 2-1.
I mean, just talking about the quality of the last four guys, there's 18 European titles between those last four, so that does highlight the great history that these clubs have in this competition. Real have got 9 victories, their last coming back all the way back in 2002, actually. Barcelona and Bayern Munich both have 4 victories as well, so a lot of quality there. But just going back to what you're saying, head to head, here's an interesting statistic for you guys. Bayern Munich versus Barcelona head to head in Europe. Bayern Munich have won 3 of those, 2 of them have been drawn, and Barcelona have won 1. When you're talking Dortmund versus Madrid, Dortmund won, 3 drawn, and Real Madrid 2. So the German clubs almost have the upper hand there. Certainly in the Bayern Munich case they do.
Yeah. Well, I remember when Dortmund last won it, I think it was about 97, and Paul Lambert was absolutely fantastic. I mean, you know,
Forgot
the current Villa manager.
Yeah.
And
he went from. Did he go from Celtic?
They were playing Juventus, and that was in the days that Juventus had people like Zinedine Zidane, and Lambert just marked Zidane out of the game, and I think Borussia won either 3-0 or 3-1. I think it was.
I do recall that actually, Paul Lambert. Yeah, did he go from Norwich or did he go from Celtic? I think he went from Celtic, from what I remember. I think he might very well have done so. Yeah, but he had a cracking game. In fact, he played very well for Dortmund.
Yeah, I mean, he literally played Zidane off the park. Zidane had probably his one of the most ineffective games, and that was a very, very talented Juve team in '97.
Very talented Juve team, absolutely.
You know, they had people like Del Piero. They had that great Czech player Nedved. Do you remember him? Yeah. And you had the Lilium Thuram was playing left back. Thuram was playing left back as well. World Cup winner. Zinedine Zidane, tremendous side. Yeah. Well, should we talk Europa Cup? That also took place as well during the course of the week. The draw's been made for that as well this afternoon. But I'll certainly pass the floor over to you. I mean, what about Adebayor? Have they found that ball yet? Here's an interesting statistic. Did you know Arsenal sold Adebayor to Spurs for 25 million? That's a good piece of business, isn't it? To Man City.
No, didn't he go?
And then he's on loan.
Oh, and he's on loan, yeah.
No, we've bought him now. We have actually physically bought
How much did you pay for him?
$6 million, I think. Ooh. Okay, he missed the penalty. Forget that. We played very well last night. If you took the top players out of all the top teams, you're going to have a...
Very difficult conditions as well. Torrential rain, wasn't it?
They played terrific. To get a 2-2 draw against a team that played us off the park, really, at White Hart Lane only, 7 days ago.
And many of your players missing as well, weren't they?
We had a lot. We had 5 players out. If Chelsea had Oscar Torres and Mata and Hazard out, they'd also face problems. You know, you can't lose the players that we've lost.
Let me just interrupt you for 1 second there, please, if I may, Stu. We've got another caller on the line. Good evening, you're live on Talk Radio Europe.
Good evening, how you doing, guys? It's just to put you right on Paul Lambert.
Yeah.
He went from Motherwell
to Motherwell to Dortmund.
To Dortmund, and then left Dortmund to join his real love, Celtic.
Well, thank you for putting us right on this. It's not very often you see a player going from Motherwell to Dortmund nowadays, is it?
Steve, do you remember that final in '97?
Yeah, I do, yes.
He was brilliant, wasn't he?
Yeah, no, listen, fantastic player, underrated. When he went to Dortmund, people couldn't believe it, but he showed what he was made of. So,
well, brilliant stuff. Well, thanks for letting us know on that one, Steve. Much appreciated. Cheers.
Take care, bye.
Going back to the draw of the semi-final, Fenerbahce played Benfica, and Basel, who beat us, unfortunately, they played Chelsea, so that's going to be a very interesting fixture.
Basel play in the same league as Young Boys, don't they?
Young Boys, yes, and Grasshoppers. Not a very small league, the Swiss league, but Swiss football's doing very well. They're top of their league in the qualifier stages for the World Cup, so they're doing very well, and they showed it last night. I think they're a decent team, but Spurs with all their...
I mean, you had a host of injuries as well, didn't you, Spurs?
We did. We had, we've got so many players out. We've got Bale out, Lennon, Defoe, Gallus, Sandro, Kabul. You're talking about 70, 80 million pounds worth of talent. You can't replace it. You can't even have a squad that can have those top players behind, unless you're at Manchester United or a City or something like that. No, that they did very well last night, but they've got to recover, and they've got to, maybe in a way, actually, it may give us more strength as we go into the last games, because the final, or the semi-final, would have been right in the middle of all the league fixtures.
Did you see anything from the youngsters that stepped into these more experienced shoes of the players that were injured? Did you see anything as a Spurs fan that encouraged you about what you saw? Some maybe somebody from the future. I thought Dawson had a very good game, actually.
Dawson was superb, absolutely superb. No, I think the subs we had on the bench were all exactly what they are, subs. They're squad players. They're not first-team players, and I'm sure they're all going to, the guys that come on, but we're just lacking in depth, no question about it. Maybe a big squad, but in quality, it's not quality. It's not good enough. Really isn't good enough.
Okay, well, gentlemen, listen, we're running out of time because we need to bring Gordon Cowans on the phone anyway. But Rich, you got one more point you'd like to make?
Well, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, this is the point of the season where Spurs face their annual Ragnarok, isn't it?
I beg your pardon?
Well, in the North...
He means we go backwards in the last 10 games.
No, well, Ragnarok, it's the doom foretold in the Norse Eddas. And, unfortunately, where
Ragnarok, the doom being told by the old Eddas.
Yes, where the halls of Asgard and Valhalla falls, okay, and of course, this is an inevitable thing that cannot be avoided, and it's similar to Spurs. This is the annual doom foretold, and of course Stuart will tell me, we've got Gareth Bale to come back, and we've got Lennon to come back, but what I'd like to remind you is that despite Odin and Thor and the virtuous Freya and even the cruel trickery of the god Loki, okay, they were not strong enough to prevent Ragnarok descending upon Valhalla.
Okay. Well,
exactly the same with Spurs, you see. It is your failure is inevitable.
Well, I'll tell you
the
what,
edifice of White Hart Lane is going to be crumbling, as it does every season at this time of year. And unfortunately, disappointment is going to be a march.
Well, I'll tell you what a way to describe that. I didn't realise we could bring in the Hobbits or the Lord of the Rings or whatever these
Richard, that was
Greek gods. It was a bit special.
It's the only thing I could, when I think of Spurs and this annual sort of implosion that happens to them every year. It's Ragnarok.
Richard, I assure you,
there's
going to be a lot of points dropped between now of all these teams fighting this the four.
But who's going to drop them?
Chelsea got Manchester United away. Everton at home. They're dropped.
Gentlemen, I'm going to have to cut you.
Arsenal, they're dropped points as well. They're all dropped points.
I'm going to give you an opportunity to fight and defend yourself towards the end of the show, Stu. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for that. We've got to go to a commercial break. Stay tuned because Gordon Cowans will be joining us the other side of this commercial break.
Tomato dribbles it past Mozzarella and loses it to Beefy. Beefy runs with it, goes on the counter-attack of Beefy, and Beefy scores and the crowd goes wild!
It's the Friday Sports Bar on Talk Radio Europe with Dom Aldworth.
Well, welcome back to the Friday Night Sports Bar. If you tuned in to the show last Friday, you would have heard Johnny Martin coming on from the Steve Staunton Leukemia Foundation. Johnny organises a big event down here, a big golfing event down here every year. A fantastic round of golf with some footballing legends. Dinner at Villa Tiberia. The event's taking place on the 26th of May, and one of the legends that will be down here amongst many others is joining me on the line now, and that is Gordon Cowans, former European Cup winner from 1982 with the Aston Villa side. Former England international. I was going to say Johnny there, but Gordon, you're most welcome to the show this evening.
Thank you.
So just tell us exactly, Gordon, how you managed to get involved with Johnny and Steve for the Leukemia Foundation.
Well, I've been a big friend of John's for quite a few years now. We ended up moving in the same cul-de-sac together and became very close then. Obviously, Steve got introduced to John via me. And we've been, obviously the three of us are very close, and have been for quite a while.
And the 26th of May, the date that the event's going to be taking place, around a golf round the Marbella Country Club. You and a host of your former teammates from 1982 are going to be joining. But that particular day is a very special day as well. That's the reason why you chose the date.
It is the reason why they chose the date. Obviously, it's the anniversary of the European Cup win, which myself and Johnny Martin managed to celebrate it twice last year because we were in Spain and we thought it was the 26th and it was the 25th, but we went out and had a great night and enjoyed the night, and then woke up the next day, looked at the date and thought, oh, that was lucky, we got another night. So it worked out very well.
Gordon, we want to try and get people, it's a fantastic cause, Steve Staunton Leukemia Foundation. We want golfing fans and footballing fans, Aston Villa fans that live down here on the coast, that play golf. We want them to come and purchase a ticket and come and join you guys. Let's try and sell it to the listeners out there. Tell us how many other your teammates and what other big name stars that, just the ordinary people can rub shoulders with, play around a golf and chat football about.
Tony Moore will be coming out, Ken McNaught, Gary Shaw. I'm not sure of who else, to be honest with you, but there will be another 3 or 4 coming out as well. But obviously, the Villa Tiberio is a hell of a place to be going to eat. We've been there a few times out there with Johnny Martin, and to hold the event there is a great venue. The entertainment, I'm sure, is going to be very good, and probably the top entertainment with the trade devos that were on, and I've seen them a couple of times, and they are absolutely fantastic. So it's well worth putting your hand in the pocket and coming and helping these children with cancer and coming along for the night. And
Gordon, how is your golf?
Steady. Johnny Martin keeps beating me because he's off about 20 odd and gets loads of shots, but I'm playing off 5 and doing okay, but playing near enough to around that. So I'm happy with that at the moment.
And if anybody gets a team and joins you guys, of course, you'll be able to have a chat to the normal human beings that didn't achieve what you might have achieved in your career. If they're an Aston Villa fan, they'll be able to play around a golf and come up and talk to you guys.
Well, that's what I think the Aston Villa ex-players, they're all about. I mean, we don't mind mixing with people. We enjoy having a game of golf. We enjoy having a drink with people, and we'll tell a few stories, and we're just normal, down-to-earth people, really.
Something that's completely different about today's football generation, unfortunately. Wouldn't quite say the same about the rugby players of today. That environment still seems to exist very much. But let's talk about that 1982 Aston Villa side that achieved that remarkable feat of winning the European Cup. I don't remember it particularly well because of my age and growing up in South Africa. But I've got two guys here that have got plenty of grey hair on their heads that remember this very, very well. Just tell us about that moment and winning the European Cup. I mean, it's an achievement that very few people get to have in their lifetime.
Well, I mean, it's something that you obviously feel very honoured and very privileged about. I mean, we were fortunate enough to do that. We weren't the fancied team. I mean, obviously, Bayern Munich were the fancied team on the night, but just to get to the final was fantastic for us. And we went out there and, did what we did. We gave it our all. We rode our luck a little bit. Nigel Spink came on as sub and made some great saves. And finally, we scored probably halfway through the second half and managed to hang on and come under a lot of pressure, but saw it through, and it really is the best night of my life ever. It's a great achievement and something that lives with you forever. I feel very proud about it.
Hi, this is Richard in the studio. I'm one of the people with a few grey hairs. Now, I remember you had one of the best left pegs in the business, and you always used to seem to have so much time on the ball. But I never really was able to follow your career once you went to Italy and Bari. But I often felt that European football would have suited your style of football even more so. Was that the case or not?
I enjoyed my 3 years over in Italy. I found it was difficult because at the time when I went over there, it was a time when the Italians were getting everyone behind the ball and trying to frustrate you. So it's a little bit frustrating at times. But a great experience because I played against some of the top players in the world at the time when I was out there. And I certainly think it developed me better as a player, and I learnt a lot more out there. So I benefited from it, definitely.
But I think undoubtedly, I mean, when I think of your time at Aston Villa, there weren't many better passers of a football. And to my mind, I could never understand why you only played, was it the 9 or the 10 games for England? I played 10
times for, but I played 7 consecutive games for England, and I had a bad leg break in a pre-season friendly for Villa against a Mexican side in Spain, Zaragoza, which kept me out for a full season. Came back the season after that, but probably cost me a few caps. But obviously I would have loved to play for the country a lot more times than I did. But
But do you think your style of football, because because it was, as I say, it was more continental. Do you think it didn't suit the way that England were playing at the time?
No, I mean I felt fine playing in the English style because I didn't mind tackling. I got stuck in and I ran around and gave it my all. But obviously, what you're saying about the continental style, it was different. It was a slower build-up, and you have to be technically good to play over there. But thankfully, I coped with that okay. And could I just say something what you were saying earlier? And thank you very much about saying how good I was with my left foot. Well, I'm actually right-footed.
Really?
That's not.
I seem to remember you, but you play. But were you sort of as good with both? Because I seem to remember you playing.
Yes,
some amazing.
no. I always, as a kid, I was always brought up by my dad. Always made me practice with both feet, and I always did that. And it pays dividends. I mean, we were lucky. The side that we had, Tony Morley, was playing on the left wing, and he was actually right-footed, and he was very good with his left foot. And there was myself and Dennis Morter would take corners with his left foot. I'd take corners and free kicks with my left foot, and Gary Shaw was pretty comfortable with his left foot, and so it was something that.
But all that team was very good technically, weren't they? Was that because of Ron Saunders? Was it?
It was just the way we were brought up at that time. I think it was football at the time. I think we spent hours and hours as a kid playing in the streets, till it was pitch black, and you just played football and played foot every day, day in and day out, and it was what you loved doing.
But that's a fair point, Gordon, that you just made. It's something you don't actually see very often on today's football pitch. They're either very much left-footed players or very much right-footed players. But here you are talking, you're a right-footer, but you used to take the free kicks and corners with your left foot.
Well, exactly, and if you look at the Premier League these days, there's very few two-footed players, and as I've just mentioned, we probably had 4 or 5 in our team at the time who were nearly as comfortable with both feet. But it's all about you're trying to better yourself.
Gordon, can I ask you, this is Stuart in the studio, I've got more grey hair than Richard.
Well, I've got no hair, so you're lucky.
Let me just ask you played in the late 70s, 80s. What is the difference you see today in the game, speed and the technical side? What stands out for you? What has changed since you were playing?
I think what you just said, the athleticism of people these days, they are very quick, they're very powerful, they do a lot of work in the gym. Everything there's a lot of sports science coming into football now, where they're drinking and eating the right things all the time. The nutritionists are in there, and they really look after themselves. And obviously, in the days when we were playing, times were a little bit different. I mean, we'd have a bottle of whiskey or a bottle of brandy in the dressing room before you went out. And not that I ever touched that, but the senior players that had a couple of slugs of that before they went out. And there was always a case of lager in the dressing room after the match. And then you go into the players' lounge and have a pint. And it's totally different now.
Do you still go down to Villa Park?
Yes, I still work for the club, yes.
So what's going to happen? I mean, you've got some hard games, especially playing teams who need points, Sunderland, Norwich, Chelsea, Wigan still. Do you think you'll stay up? Because you're only 2 points above the relegation zone. Yeah,
I'm pretty positive it will stay up. I mean, I think as the team continues, the season's going along, they're getting to know each other better, they're playing better, and they're developing together. And there are some good players there. And
you've got a fantastic youth team at Villa as well, haven't you?
Sorry?
The youth team is fantastic at Villa.
Well, the youth team have done very well. I mean, Tony McAndrew and Ben Petty, Sean Verity have just won the Next Gen Cup over in Italy, which, to beat Chelsea in the final with the quality they've got was a fantastic achievement.
I saw that on TV. It was on one of the channels. It was a tremendous performance. It's a shame the pitch was so bad there.
Well, exactly. Look at the pitches you play on these days. They're like carpets.
Absolutely. And how can they not give the kids a lovely stadium?
The venue was absolutely fantastic. I mean, Lake Como, but the pitch was, like you said, it was hopeless.
And just going back to the senior Aston Villa team and what Stuart was saying, obviously only 2 points off relegation zone at the moment. But, I mean, from a couple of games that I've seen recently, although you lost to Liverpool, there was some pretty good performances by some of the players. And certainly last week as well, was a win last week. It alludes me to who you guys beat. Fantastic goal by young Lawton as well against Stoke. There are some encouraging signs, and I think backed up what you're saying, that the guys are starting to learn to play with each other. And they seem to be coming good at exactly the right time when it's needed in this relegation battle.
I think you're spot on with that comment there. Yeah, and as you said, they're developing together, they're learning about each other, how to play with each other. And there are some very good players there. But, I mean, there's some very winnable games coming up. There's also some tough games, but I honestly think we'll see it through and we'll be absolutely fine.
Can I ask you just one thing? I'm a massive Spurs supporter. Benteke is playing really, really well. Are you going to sell him to us at the end of the season?
I hope to God no, because he is a hell of a player. He is.
Well, what we'll buy him? What do you want? 15 mil? 20 mil? Let me know, because I can ring Mr. Levy and try and get this going now.
Well, if you know him that well, you carry on. I don't think you'll get him.
I think there'll be a few clubs that are probably thinking the same thing at the moment as well. Gordon, we have taken up enough of your time. I know Johnny is sitting down next to you there somewhere in the sofa. Please tell Johnny I am going to...
He's disappeared. I don't know where he is. I think he's gone upstairs to get changed, because he's just come back in his dressing gown.
In his dressing gown.
It looks the right picture.
We are going to mention after we finished having a chat to you all the details that are necessary if anybody wants to join and be in your company and hear all your wonderful stories. We've certainly enjoyed your company this evening. Thanks so much for your time.
Can I just say one more thing, please, before we finish?
Sure.
Can I just say a big thank you to Lynn Fisher for everything she's done in organising and helping organise Steve Staunton's golf day.
Sure, and that's Lynn Fisher, did you say?
Lynn Fisher, yes.
And Lynn's obviously, is she based down here?
Yes, she is, yeah.
Well, Lynn, if you're listening there, a legend from Aston Villa, Gordon has sent you his many thanks for all your hard work as well. And we sincerely hope that the event's going to be a success. I'm going to continue promoting it for you every single Friday and Monday on my show as well, Gordon. And
Brilliant.
Thank you once again for coming onto the show this evening. It's been fantastic to have you.
You're welcome, thank you.
All right, cheers, Gordon.
Cheers, goodbye.
Aston Villa legend there, Gordon Cowans, 82 European Cup winner with Aston Villa. Really, really nice to have him on.
But the thing is, they won the European Cup without the manager who'd won them the championship the season before.
Without Ron Atkinson?
No, it was Ron Saunders.
It was Ron Saunders.
Yeah, Tony Barson took over.
He was. I wanted to ask him one question actually.
Yeah.
When he said that they sometimes have a bit of whiskey before they go into the match. I wonder if they had a shot of whiskey before they went on for the European Cup final.
Well, I should imagine so.
Why change?
I mean, in those days, they'd all be smoky in the changing room as well, Dom.
I remember Vincent van der Bijl, the great fast bowler from South Africa, but couldn't play much international cricket because of isolation. He used to sit on the boundary in between his overs at fine leg with a cigarette in his hand, leaning up against the boundary board. And that would have been in the 70s and the 80s as well. But just to remind all of you out there, Gordon kindly came on. He's taking part in Steve Staunton Leukemia Foundation on the 26th of May. That is the anniversary of their marvellous win, the Aston Villa win in 1982 in the European Cup at Marbella Golf Club. The tickets are €260 only per person to play 18 holes, dinner at Villa Tiberia. You're in the company of all these legends and many more other football stars and former players. If you just wish to attend the dinner, you're most welcome to at Villa Tiberia, €95 a head. And for those people who enjoy a tipple of wine, that does include the wine. And if you wish to get any more details, and they can always email Talk Radio Europe and get my contact details from Vanessa in the front there, and I can give you some more. Or you can go straight to Johnny, and that is at zoe.martin@btinternet.com, or you can ring them direct in the UK. That's 0044 121 353 6292. That's 121 353 6292. And the email address is zoe.martin@btinternet.com. We've got one more commercial break to get through, and we'll see you the other side of that.
The Monday Night Sports Bar with Dom Aldworth.
Join me and my panel, Richard Tilsley and Stuart Joseph, every Monday for the new edition of the Monday Night Sports Bar, live from the Talk Radio Europe studios from 7 till 8 p.m.
The Monday Night Sports Bar.
You just never know who might drop in.
TRE.
See you in both. A warm welcome to the Sports Bar. David Campese, thanks for joining me this afternoon. Bjorn Borg, thanks very much for talking to me. Joining me live, he's Gary Player.
Dom, nice to be able to speak to all three of you today.
These guys have been waiting for this with bated breath, I can assure you, for the last couple of weeks.
The Friday Sports Bar with Dom Aldworth on Talk Radio Europe.
Well, welcome back to the Friday Night Sports Bar. Quick check in the US Masters. Dustin Johnson is 6 under par through 11 alongside Mark Leishman. Charles Schwartzel, the winner in 2011, is making his move 3 under par for the day. He's sitting at 4 under through 3. Freddie Couples is at 4 under. He's even through 12. Certainly your big mover of the day, Charles Schwartzel at 3 under par. He's sitting 2 off the pace. Thanks there to Gordon Cowans, who joined us, Aston Villa legend. During the break, we had Jonathan, who gave me a ring. You might have heard Jonathan on the show before talking about big Formula One fan, and this is in reference that he was. I decided to bring him in live because he's got a great story to tell us about the footballers that used to go out onto the pitch before a big match with a swig of whiskey. But it gets a little bit better from your neck of the woods there, Jonathan, doesn't it?
Well, possibly. I mean, just one personal story. This was in the 60s, whereas a friend of mine, he quite wealthy and was doing club racing, and his butler would come on before the start and with a silver tray with a brandy on it, and he'd down it in one go. and this was perfectly all right.
And Jonathan, listen, I know while we got you on the line, we're struggling for time very quickly, but I was going to give the listeners out there a quick update. Free practice round 3 of the Formula One World Championship beginning this weekend, or began today, free practice. No surprise there, Nico Rosberg quickest in the morning, followed by teammate Lewis Hamilton. Mark Webber pipping Sebastian Vettel as well in the morning. He was in 3rd, Vettel in 4th, Fernando Alonso 5th, Jenson Button 6th. And then in the afternoon session, it was Felipe Massa that went quickest, with Fernando Alonso in 3rd. The two Mercedes chose to do great distances and concentrate on data gathering and tyres. Did you see any of the practice today?
No, I haven't got around to it. I'm going to get up early tomorrow to watch, because today is meaningless, basically.
Absolutely, yeah.
I wouldn't
but Mercedes,
much importance to it.
Nico Rosberg goes around very well there. He's led the Grand Prix at some stage over the last 3 years, and of course he won last year.
I think, have you got 2 seconds?
We certainly do, yeah.
Okay. Webber is a funny guy, and he nicknames people, and Alonso is the Fonz.
Alonso is the Fonz?
From Happy Days.
Okay.
And
Dominic's far too young to remember.
I remember Happy Days.
Yeah, and
Ron Howard.
Yeah, and he calls Rosberg Brittany, as in Spears. So make what you wish of this.
Well, there you go.
Oh.
Okay. Well, listen,
that's great. We love our nicknames here on the show, don't we?
Yeah. But,
from now on, Nico Rosberg will always be known on this show as Brittany.
As Brittany.
Yeah, he's Brittany, yeah. Anyway, if my money, if I'm going to bet, I still think the nasty schoolboy is going to win this.
You think so, yeah? Well, he is a former winner there as well. In fact, this weekend, for the listeners out there, there are 6 winners. This is the 10th edition of the Chinese Grand Prix. There are 6 former winners of this race that will be lining up on the starting grid this weekend. 2 DRS zones as well. Plenty of overtaking expected. Expect the Mercedes to be quick, and let's hope that naughty schoolboy doesn't get another win under his belt. Jonathan, we have to say goodbye and thank you very much indeed.
I suspect he might, though.
We shall see. Perhaps we can have a chat on Monday. Cheers, Jonathan. Have a great weekend.
I'll give you a shout on Monday.
Cheers.
One thing to add, Dominic, don't read too much into Hamilton's performance today. He has been suffering from the flu.
He has been suffering from the flu. From man flu, apparently.
Or bird flu.
Guys, we've only got 3 or 4 minutes to go, but there is football to take place this weekend in the Premier League. Fortunately for Spurs, they have a bit of a rest because of the FA Cup as well, don't they?
Yeah, Chelsea are in the semi-finals, and we've got a nice break for 10 days before we play Manchester City, and hopefully all the boys will be back and we'll have a full team out, because 3 points is a must. But we've got the FA Cup semi-finals this weekend. Chelsea and Manchester City should be a tremendous game, and also Millwall and Wigan, which is quite interesting, because for Wigan it's a great occasion.
Well, I don't think it's going to be a classic game, the Millwall-Wigan, and I think Wigan will go through. But the Chelsea-Man City, I'm really looking forward to that game. And I've got a feeling that Chelsea might just edge it.
Well, David Silva, who's been playing so well, is unlikely to be fit, and that's going to be a big mark.
Well, I mean, I know that they did beat Man United on Monday, but it wasn't an overly convincing performance from Man City, was it? I mean, you know, when you think of the wealth of talent they've got there.
I'm going to disagree with you. I thought City was superb. I really think they played really well. They've gone to Old Trafford, a 1-2-1. How many teams do it? In fact, the only team that's done it this year, I think.
Well, I mean,
Tottenham.
yeah, I mean, you know, we can talk about United at length at another time, but. You know, there's. I think they're a little lacklustre in midfield, and I think Ferguson has got to invest heavily if he wants to compete at the same level next season.
Yes,
but there are so many great games, and I must say one of the games I'm really looking forward to is the Sunderland-Newcastle game, and I think that's
big game, that isn't it?
That's
massive. Newcastle got 36 points. You've got Sunderland with 31. You know, they're on the same wavelength as Wigan. I mean, it's really for Sunderland. This has got to be a
and I mean, and the other team. I mean, vying for that other relegation spot is Stoke, and they just seem to be getting worse and worse every week. And they've got Man United, and that's going to be tricky because Ferguson is going to want to make sure the team bounces back after that loss.
Well, he wants to try and get record points. I think he's still got a chance of doing it. So, I agree here.
I think he just wants to get the title first. I mean, I was reading Valencia said they're getting a bit nervous because of what happened last season. Well, I suppose they remember last season. And theoretically it is possible, but I don't think it will happen.
What I'm worried about Stoke is if they go 1 or 2 down, that crowd's turning against the manager and the team at the moment. And,
the thing is, we talked about this last week. I mean, a very abrasive character, Tony Pulis. He's fallen out with various team members of the team, and unfortunately the 2 team members of the team he's fallen out with are the 2 wingers who provide all the crosses, and so all those great big centre forwards and centre halves they've got are getting no service.
Well, Crouch is not scoring anyway at the moment.
Well, they're getting no service.
Arsenal, Norwich City. You think Arsenal get 3 points?
Definitely, yeah.
I'm afraid you say that. Aston Villa and Fulham. Villa need the points as well. Reading and Liverpool, Southampton, West Ham, all important games. And during the week, you've got Arsenal and Everton, 5th place, 6th. Cracking game.
Yeah, there's plenty of football during the course of next week as well, which we'll touch on Monday.
I think certainly the bottom 2 clubs are down and out. So I can't see QPR getting a result at Goodison. I mean, Everton are playing some really good football, as you're only too aware.
Yes,
Stuart.
Very aware. Yeah.
And I think that Reading are playing at home to Liverpool, and I think I think it's the sort of team that Liverpool will take apart.
I think Reading, QPR down, Wigan, Sunderland, Aston Villa, Stoke. They're the teams now.
Yeah. Okay, gentlemen, and just very quickly as well, we've got about 40 odd seconds. Big game for Malaga at La Rosa later this weekend against Osasuna. TRE, Paul PBT, obviously up in the stadium there, and Kenny driving the show from down here with Chris Williams. That's a big game. But Italy, you have to very quickly look at 2 massive games here. AC Milan versus Napoli, 2nd versus 3rd, and 5th place Lazio hosting Juventus as well. That could blow the title race wide open.
Absolutely. It's an exciting week ahead for football.
Well, gentlemen.
And the Masters, your tip to win, Dom?
My tip to win the Masters, looking at the leaderboard as it stands at the moment, Charles Schwartzel, former winner, always plays well at Augusta's, looking very good. The Tiger Woods I've got to go for.
I fancy Justin Rose.
I was about to say Justin Rose. That's why you're wearing the cerise shirt, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Your rose-coloured shirt.
Thank you very much, as usual, for coming in on this Friday. And to all the listeners out there, hope you enjoyed the show. Have a great sporting weekend.
Talk Radio Europe, on the hour. Live international news from Sky.
Enter at 7. Breaking news this evening. 5 people have been killed in a road crash in North Lincolnshire. Humberside police said happened at Laceby near Grimsby just after 12 o'clock this lunchtime. It's reported that a car and lorry were involved in a head-on collision.